Werner?
Yeah. I'm not going anywhere.
Good evening.
He's here.
Welcome to a regularly scheduled meeting of the Waterville City Council. If anybody would like an agenda, I believe they are just outside the door out back. And before we get started, I will ask Steve to please stand and lead us in the pledge.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America,
To the
republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Before we get started, I am going to ask that we just take a brief moment of silence to recognize the passing of Presidents George H.W. Bush and the contributions of both he and his wife Barbara to the state of Maine. Thank you. First up on the agenda, we have two city councilors, new councilors who are going to be sworn in tonight. So I would ask Margaret Smith and Jay Coelho to come up and be sworn in by Patty. You have to wrench that mic around there, Patty. Yeah.
Can you stand on this side and face the audience if you would? Could you please raise your right hands and repeat after me? I state your name.
I, Jay Coelho,
I, Margaret Smith,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
solemnly swear
that I will faithfully discharge,
that I will faithfully discharge
to the best of my
to
abilities,
the best of
my abilities
the duties incumbent upon me
the duties incumbent upon me
as a city councilor
as a city councilor
for the city of Waterville.
for the city of Waterville.
Thank you. Congratulations.
Come on up. Jay, where are you going? Oh.
I thought you just cruised right up here.
Meg, you're over here.
I know.
All right.
Welcome. Hi.
Let's see.
Mike, am I correct? We are skipping the annual report dedication tonight. We'll do it on a different evening.
Right. Fred asked if we could postpone it to the 18th so that his family could be here.
Okay, great. Thank you. Next, we'll have a disclosure of conflict of interest. Are there any city councilors that feel they have a conflict of interest with the votes they will take tonight? Wonderful. We will move to the approval of the consent agenda. Can I get a motion for the approval of the consent agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Unfinished business, we have order 187, 2018.
Move to read by title only.
Second.
All in favor? Life comes at you fast.
An order providing for acceptance of bid for sale of property 59 High Street.
Move to adopt.
Second.
Is there any discussion? Patty, could I get a roll call, please?
Counselor Sol?
Yes.
Counselor White?
Yes.
Counselor Smith?
Yes.
Counselor Mayhew?
Yes.
Counselor Coelho?
Yes.
Counselor Tate?
Yes.
Counselor DuPont?
Yes.
The vote is 7 in favor and 0 opposed.
Moving on to new business, I have resolution 189, 2018.
Move to read by title only.
Second.
All in favor?
Authorizing the renewal of liquor licenses expiring between January 1, 2019 and March 31st, 2019.
Move to adopt.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor? Next, resolution 190, 2018.
Move to read by summary only, please.
Second.
All in favor?
A resolution providing for bid award 14 cubic yard side dump sander body. Summary, replacement for a 2008 sander body that is no longer operational due to extreme corrosion and wear. Funds to be appropriated from the fiscal year 2018-19 Public Works budget for equipment and parts.
Move to adopt.
Second.
And we will open for questions or discussion.
Normally, this kind of expense, well, this is a high expense. Normally, these kind of maintenance expenses to our equipment don't come before you because you've approved the budget that includes money for expenses. But where this amount was so high, we wanted to make sure you knew about it. It eats into that total amount we have in our budget for maintenance and repair. And secondly, the fact that it highlights the importance of trying to keep current on our equipment. We probably should have brought the condition of the sanded body to you sooner. We hoped we could get one more season with it, but it's just not functional, which pretty much takes one truck out of the picture for sanding and, right?
Now, yes.
Right. So it's a piece that we really do need to replace on that truck.
Okay, I'll take a vote. All in favor? Next is Order 191, 2018.
Move to read by title only.
Second.
All in favor?
An order providing for approval of forfeiture.
Move to adopt.
Second.
Just so those in the audience are aware of what we're voting on, this is to accept forfeiture money in the amount of $502 that will go to the Waterville Police Department's drug forfeiture revenue line. Is there any discussion? All in favor? Next, Resolution 192, 2018.
A resolution providing for expression of support for state revenue sharing. Be it resolved by the Waterville City Council acting as the municipal officers as follows, that the attached letter requesting increased funding from the state for revenue sharing be sent to the city's elected state representatives and also to area towns asking them to join with us in requesting that state revenue sharing be brought back to its original distribution amounts.
Move to adopt.
And second.
Is there discussion? Councillor Tate?
Yes, I would like to just explain why I thought this was important. This is not obviously a binding ordinance, but it's a resolution that expresses the sense of the council that we support the full restoration of revenue sharing as the first order of business for this legislature and administration. I'm just going to read briefly from the letter. The state is mandated by law to fund revenue sharing at 5% of all income and sales tax revenues. Currently, the reimbursement rate is 2%. The letter goes on to explain that this is really critical for tax relief for our property taxes in town as a service-centered town. This is a sentiment that's shared by many towns throughout Maine, and I think this is just to raise awareness of the issue, to communicate to the new legislature and the governor-elect that this is a critical issue. I know there are lots of critical issues that Maine is facing, and one of my concerns is that the restoration of revenue sharing will take a back seat to some of those other issues. So I wanted to have us have the opportunity as representatives of Waterville to say how important this is to us and to our public services and to our taxpayers.
Thank you. Is there any other comments or questions?
Reiterate what Winifred said, with having this go to the state legislators. I often think about our state legislators because a lot of the state legislators are actual former city councilmen or selectmen back in their towns that have been elevated to a higher position to try to find some of these solutions. And definitely state revenue sharing for the city of Waterville is a more critical piece of the puzzle here than in even some towns and some cities that we know. We don't have to rehash the fact of the 30% tax exempt status. We don't have to rehash the fact that we have a city mass of only 13 square miles. You put those two formulas together and you can see the critical nature of us wanting to do this. So I'm very happy to see us be proactive and send this out to the legislators to let them know that. I know there's a great deal of legislators that are in support of this, so we're hoping that we can see some action on this in the positive.
Okay, anybody else? Any questions?
I feel like I have to walk a maze to get up here. I like the old layout better. the one, yeah, anyway. Reinfinch, Ward 6. I'm not sure if the council is aware that Representative Madigan put in a bill to restore revenue sharing to its full levels. I believe she called at 8:01 the day after Election Day, which is when they were allowed to put new bills in. So she has put in the bill to restore it to its full levels, and she already has several, I'm not going to quote an exact number because I don't know it, of other representatives who have asked to sign on as co-sponsors. So this seems to be very popular in the state legislature right now.
And if I'm not mistaken, our Waterville's second representative, Bruce White, is also in favor of the restoration of revenue sharing.
Yes, I believe he will be a co-sponsor on the bill as well. Yes.
Super. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. Good afternoon, everyone.
Good evening,
Good evening,
sir.
everyone. We'll cover the whole day. I've been active on this issue for, I guess, 20 years, and was sat on council when Paul was the mayor, and we got our full load of revenue sharing, and then it got cut some, and the mayor had a strong opinion about that. But what it allowed us to do is to reduce the tax rate significantly. I think we got below 20. And this was a deal that was made in the legislature. I would look at it like a contract. I'd like to just hand out this, it's a brief synopsis.
Thank you.
Pretty important that we understand how critical this is, and I think you all probably do. I think that what I see is that we as service centers need to now expand efforts and talk to rural legislators who very often think that the cities are where the devil lives, and that we're wasting money and throwing it all around, and that is simply not true, and it hasn't been true for years. So I would suggest that this is one step, just one step only, that we now, and even we have politically powerful allies, we need an organized effort in Augusta during the session to keep this to the front and not let it get lost or overwhelmed by other issues. Because I think it's critically important to us that we get this ship righted, because now all we're getting is looking at the bottom of a nearly empty barrel. And revenue sharing and revenue sharing 2 was a deal that was cut in exchange for municipalities taking on a bunch of functions that the state wanted. And it also brought into existence the income tax. So I think that this is, like I said, just step one. I'm more than willing, if I'm still here, to be part of that volunteer effort at the legislature. Let's map out a plan, and then let's go after the votes we need to fill that again so that the state can meet its obligations to municipalities like Waterville.
I will say that I know that we are planning on meeting with our representatives, with Representative Madigan, Representative White, and Representative Searway to discuss this issue. 2 years ago, I went to Augusta to testify in favor of restored revenue sharing. I think there's a better chance that that will pass now, but it's by no means a sure thing. So I'm sure we'll hopefully have a big delegation from Waterville to make that case.
Thank you. Any other comments?
Hi, Mark Andre, Oakland, Maine. I was the candidate for State House 110, Colleen Madigan's opponent. I want to thank Councilor Tate for putting this letter together. This was not an issue that divided any of the candidates in the campaign. I believe it had unanimous support with Karen Thomas also. So we were all in favor of regaining our revenue sharing. If I understand the intention, it's to provide a tax break to the residents of Waterville.
Well, the intention is to ask for restoration of revenue sharing so that we can fund our public services without additional tax burden. We'll have to see how this plays out. Obviously, there are a number of proposals for increasing revenue in different ways, but certainly this is one very necessary step for easing the financial burden for property taxpayers and the city.
And the amount of funds we're looking at is about $1.2 million.
I believe it's 1.6, but I'll have to check.
It depends on the sales numbers.
Yeah, we're already getting 2%. When you raise to 5%, it's a $1.2 million.
At least.
At least. Do we have any projections in terms of assuming that revenues? Do we have revenue projections for next year, Mike? Are they going up, down for the city?
We're going to stay about the same as we were last year, so we're still getting 2% instead of 5.
I'm talking general revenues for the city.
Oh, other than state revenue sharing?
Yes.
There's a big hole in the budget, if that's what you're asking, because we used one-time funding for budgeting last year.
I guess I'm asking if you've run the numbers. If we get the revenue sharing back that you're looking for, what is the projected mill rate with that increase in funding from the state?
I have not run those numbers.
We currently do not have a draft budget. We had hoped to have something a little bit earlier, but we also had a new finance director come in the midst of that. But I think I could be wrong, but I'm guessing it would actually keep us about flat. It's about the amount that we would need to keep it maybe flat.
Okay, so in other words, the mill rate will remain at 25.27 roughly, and
If we receive more revenue sharing.
yeah, well, I was assuming discretionary spending would remain at status quo, that there would be no new. In other words,
Right.
if you take everything at status quo, what does it do?
You're roughly on point
Yes. Okay.
if you're looking at a 30,000-foot view.
Okay. The point I'm making to you is have we run numbers for Augusta, Portland? In other words, if you restore revenue sharing, what does that do for the municipalities we compete with in terms of mill rates?
This is a letter advocating full restoration. It does not have budget numbers attached to it.
Well, I'm just asking. I mean, this has been asked for 6 years now by Colleen Madigan, other candidates. I'm asking, what does this do for Augusta, for Portland, relative to our main? In other words, our mill rate will stay at 25.27. Augusta's is currently at 29.7. Where does Augusta's mill rate go if we restore revenue sharing? Does it increase their competitiveness versus us?
I don't have those numbers. Do you?
I don't, but I'm not the city councilor with the letter on the table
Right,
either.
I don't think Councilor Tate's purpose here was
Yes.
to set up competition with other cities. I think she was merely trying to state and express a desire to
Well,
get revenues that are owed to our city.
if the revenue sharing goes up, it goes up for all communities, so all communities are going to benefit.
The basic point I'm making to you, Councilor Tate, is this is very important for a tax break for the residents. However, it doesn't fix our competitive problem in terms of our tax rates relative to other cities. And if we view this as a standalone measure where we pack up our tent and go home at the end of the day because we've put this letter in and we're expecting the state to come in and help, it may not fix our tax problem in the long run, because we have a structural problem regarding nonprofits where we have 1/3 of the tax base.
Yes, I'm well
paying.
aware of the structural problems
Yes,
with the
and
funding
that's,
for the
and
city.
I think I just didn't want the residents to perceive that this is something that we send to the legislature, wait, get the funds, and it will somehow fix our problems in Waterville. Because
No
if we
one
don't,
is suggesting that.
okay,
Very clearly say that this was a first step.
first step, okay. Great, and thank you very much.
One thing I would just comment on, because I certainly will be in Augusta with you arguing for revenue sharing as I have in the past. It's important. The reality is we gave up our ability to pass local taxation to get this. That was part of the deal that Mr. O'Coin spoke about. And also but we should be clear though, however, when we had Governor LePage here as mayor and people like Steve on the council, this city chose to actually use that money for tax relief. But study after study after study shows that there are many municipalities throughout the state, Portland's a great example, that actually the increase of revenue sharing increased their spending. It was considered extra money. So one of the things that we could consider, hopefully, that might make this a better sell is, as we discussed with our representatives, is being willing to tie this to a direct, to specific spending items. Because if it goes to, while I believe very firmly that the city of Waterville would be extremely responsible with those funds, I think hesitation on the lawmaker's part is that there's a lot of municipalities that may not be that responsible with it. But I appreciate this step. Thank you.
I know there are other bills going forward about levying additional taxes, and that would certainly sound like something that you would support, Mr. Mayor, but this is about money that we are already paying as taxes, our sales tax, our income tax, that needs to come back to Waterville. So.
Yeah, we're ready for it. All in favor? And next, I have on the agenda a discussion of collection of trash and recycling materials, and I don't know who wants to kick this off. I don't know who put this on.
Well, it came to me as a request to put it on, and we sent out an information sheet to all of you. Mark has some extra copies here, so I'm not sure what the questions are, but we'll do our best to answer them.
I believe this stemmed from Councilor Mayhew's community note at the last meeting about our municipal trash truck, the split packer that has been broken down quite often. And I think there were residents who wanted to have a chance to speak, but because it was not it was not an open forum for back and forth, it was community notes, they didn't have the opportunity to do that. Yes, Councilor.
To me, it would make a lot of sense if Mr. Turner just gave us the facts right off, about how much we've reduced tonnage and what the costs are and what the savings are, and then take it from there.
And just could we also comment on the warranty coverage on the truck and how that's being dealt with as well?
Okay.
Can you pull that closer to you, Mark?
On the information sheet, is that what we're talking about? Okay. Total savings were about $392.05. Revenues $232,635. So total savings and revenue of $622,840. That's through July 1st, 2018, the current year. Our budget prior to pay-as-you-throw and recycling being introduced was about $900,000. It's currently $388,000.
Mark, is that inclusive of revenues from the pay-as-you-throw bag? Is that a net number that you're giving us, or is that just strictly on the tonnage?
That includes the revenues for the bags.
Okay.
Yes.
Can you give us the facts, Mark, about how much we used to pick up for tonnage and how much we pick up now, please?
Well, if you look at the first item on the information sheet, when we used to collect regular trash prior to pay-as-you-throw, about 4,300 tons. Right now, at the conclusion of the last fiscal year, which ended June 30th, we're at just under 1,900 tons. So used to cost us almost $500,000 a year. Now it's $125,000.
Like a 60% savings.
Right.
And we can probably attribute some of that, just to be clear, to a lot of residents switching to private haulers as well as the recycling program.
That's correct, too.
Yeah.
We also thought people were bringing their trash in from out of town, right, Mark?
That was the suspicion
Probably
at the
accurate.
time.
I think there probably were four major reasons why our trash volume went down 54%. One, people contracted with other haulers, as you said. Two, people were bringing trash from other towns. Three, our recycling improved considerably, and that reduced the tonnage. And I think four, people were just a lot more careful about what they threw away. That 54% reduction was a huge, huge savings in our budget 3 years ago.
Mark, could you comment on one of the frustrations that we've heard about is that people are buying the bags, they're spending a week separating their trash, and oops, here comes a single truck that's just throwing it all in the trash. And a lot of the questions we're getting is, why are we paying for the bags? Why are we separating the trash? Do you have any sense of this wrapping up with this truck and what the plan is to ensure that this won't continue to happen?
That, because we only have a single compartment vehicle as a backup unit.
Right.
When our dual compartment unit is out of service, we have no other choice. As I said in my email to Sydney, we do see light at the end of the tunnel. We have resolved some of the issues with the mechanical functions of the new vehicle. It is out there now, being operated. We still have a couple little minor adjustments to make. It was a learning process for our team to operate the truck correctly, plus there were some mechanical deficiencies that made the truck not function the way it was supposed to. Number one was a computer system on the truck itself, not on the Packer unit, that was not communicating properly with the system, and was reducing its power output and RPMs for proper compaction. In answer to the mayor's question, if we're out there, we have just a single compartment packer, and that's all we can do is just pick up everything, put it in the same truck. No other choice.
We're not doing that right now.
No, not at this moment. For instance, on a holiday, when we have to do a double trash and double recycling collection, if people put their recycling out on the holiday, even though we tell them when they call, you won't get your recycling until the following week, there's tons of it out there. We have to collect it or it's going to be flying all over the place. People are going to be more upset with a litter and the fact that their recycling is still at curbside when they get home from work. We have no other choice. We can leave it.
No, I understand that.
Yeah.
I think the question is more along the lines of, I mean, I think you already answered that. You see some light at the end of the tunnel. The truck we got was clearly defective. There are issues with the truck. Do you feel those issues are going to come to an end, or if not, is there a plan to go back to the manufacturer of the truck?
We think once it's a regeneration computer system for the emissions control on the diesel engine, and that causes the whole truck to be out of sync with all the hydraulic systems and the PTO and the total power of the unit that it's supposed to have. So once that's replaced, we're hoping that everything will be resolved. And this is a truck issue, not a Packer issue. So we think this will be resolved. We'll have better performance by the vehicle once this is taken care of.
So the replacement computer is going to be covered by the company?
The truck itself has a 3-year warranty. The Packer body has a 1-year.
Okay.
Counselor.
I want to respond to some comments that I heard after the meeting that I presented this to the community notes part last week via social media, and just comments that I heard in general from constituents and residents about after I brought this expression of frustration, I guess is what I'm saying, from my constituents and from hearing from several business owners that I visited in downtown expressed, some areas of concern about this. This was the whole reason why I brought it up, because I'm bound to, as a counselor, to air the frustrations of my constituency, and that's what I did, and I'm not ashamed to do that. But I will say that to have people say that I that I condone the council, or they had no blame in this Packer truck or the purchase of this truck, or to say that Mark Turner has blame in this because of the state of the truck. We should have never purchased it to begin with. My reaction to that is everybody on this council voted in good conscience of what they thought was the right thing to do. And whether there be an opposing vote or a sustaining vote, I want to reiterate that we need to respect the decisions and the process and the analysis of those councils, because even I was divided on, whether to go one way or the other way, because even with the recommendations that were before us. And I think the way that the vote went, despite rehashing that vote, many months ago, when we're trying to sustain the recyclable situation in the city of Waterville, which is not an easy thing. And the sustainability of that is everybody had a conscionable reaction and decision to make on this. So I in no way want my words to be perceived or construed in the wrong way. I was merely airing the frustrations, and for our Public Works Director, Mark, you're doing a fine job. And like I said, any Public Works Director in any municipality would want to have the best to make sure that a program that's instituted in any municipality be successful. And it was his analysis and his recommendation for that. So again, I think we need to do a lot more thought process and analyzation before we make off-the-cuff comments that could be construed the wrong way, when I was merely airing the frustrations of my constituency to begin with. I think I'll end with that.
Yes, Counselor.
Is there a line in the sand when we're done playing with this truck? I mean, if it's spending a lot of time being serviced all the time, do we have a plan or at least some discussion in place as to what you might do when it's done working? I mean, if we have a truck that we're constantly fixing, where do we draw the line that say we need to move on?
Well, as Mark said, we believe that next fix is going to put us on the right road to having it operating as it should be. We had two major things to fix. The first one was done back in October. The company actually flew 2 repair people in from Michigan to fix it, and they did. We found out that wasn't completely the problem. Mark mentioned that other side of it. That's going to be done very soon, you think?
As soon as the part arrives.
As soon as the part
computer.
arrives. When that part arrives and is put in, we hope that's the end of it.
I'm fully more confident at this time that we do have the solution. That's going to keep that truck in operation condition. And
No, I know the question. His question was, if that doesn't fix it, are we going to go back to the company? Is there a way we can go back to the company and say it's time for a new truck? Or
Yep.
we'll have that discussion then, I
We
guess.
already had that discussion with our attorney,
Great.
who was here tonight. Yep.
All right, if there are folks in the audience who want to come up and make a comment or just ask a question, now would be the time to do so.
Eric Thomas, Ward 7. The only thing I would say is that it's important to communicate to people when the recycling truck is broken, because I know some people are in a position where they can hold on to the stuff until the truck's fixed, and they don't want the stuff going in the trash. So the better job we can do communicating to people when something like this happens, so that they don't find out by seeing the trash truck throwing everything in together and wondering what's going on, then I think that's just something to consider moving forward, making sure we're communicating to people if the truck is broken.
I add something too that we have
Of course.
shredding.
Sid-
Well, sorry, while she's coming up, remember too that we have shredding on site that will always take your recyclables on those weeks.
That's right.
Hi, Cindy Jacobs, Ward 4. I know we've talked a lot about all our trash. I'm going to ask the big elephant in the room question, which is, it appears that we're saving $622,000 and $840,000 from annual savings and annual revenue from the purple bags. How much does the city actually spend total on labor, truck, and just getting rid of the trash? My question is, based on if we did not have it, how much would we save in the city and people all had private haulers? Just had to ask the question.
Right. No, that's a good question.
Currently, the budget is $388,000.
I mean, that includes all the men working and everything.
It doesn't include future increases in health insurance and things like that. But,
Well, I just,
yeah,
yeah.
it's a rough estimate. Had to add that in. Yes. Feel free to come right up and fill in behind if you. Yeah.
Stu Silverstein, resident of Waterville, and a member of the Solid Waste Recycling Committee. We do have some options, and most of them are really not very good. Some have suggested that the city get out of the recycling business in the municipal trash pickup and just have private haulers take everything. But this is really a terrible idea. I don't think we want independent haulers charging up and down our streets looking for business. I mean, trash disposal and recycling should be a municipal function. The other possibility is, say, why are we even recycling? Why don't we just put the trash in with the recyclables and take it all to Crossroads and let them bury it? Well, that's an option, and we've talked about that, but it's a terrible option because it's the wrong thing to do. Residents really believe in recycling in Waterville. We know that because they overwhelmingly voted for it, and they approve of our recycling effort, and that's what we should continue to do, as many, many communities in Maine are doing. So why even question this? We want to recycle, and we want to do it as best we can, and I think we're doing a great job. It's unfortunate there have been problems with the truck, but I'm hoping they get corrected. Thank you.
Thank you. Welcome, sir.
Dan Anderson, Ward 5. I just wanted to ask, how is the single-stream recycling going, and what's the future of it? Is there any concerns about it stopping? I heard that China is no longer taking a lot of plastics, and I haven't really looked into it that much, but how stable is the future of it?
The markets worldwide for recycling are in a slump right now, especially with China cutting off a lot of the exports from the United States in recycling materials. So that has caused a ripple effect throughout the industry, and they're trying to come up with new sources for disposing of recycling, or actually recycling the materials rather than having them in a landfill. Single stream recycling, I will say, by reports from Eco-Maine, our product that we deliver is one of the cleanest in the state and the best mix of items that they can accept down there. So where other towns are being penalized or charged more fees by Eco-Maine, we have received no fees, no threats of any fees, and more compliments for how well our residents do in recycling.
So it seems like we're in a good stead going forward.
As long as the recycling markets don't go worse than they are now, right. Fortunately, like Mark said, our stuff we send is really pretty clean. Unfortunately, in many communities, people mix food waste in with, so that's the problem, Dan, that you mentioned with single stream. Yeah.
Yeah, like pizza boxes are acceptable, and it's like, really? But,
Without the pizza in it.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's something that they could start charging for in the future, but
Yeah.
at this point, it's not a concern.
Right, right. So
If
it
it
is
is,
an
we'll
area of concern, but right now,
talk about
we're
it.
okay.
The residents do a really good job. They're conscientious about how they do their recycling and putting the stuff out, so I have to give tribute to the residents on that.
Great, thank you.
Kathy Weeks, Ward 1. As I was going around campaigning, I had many residents ask that same question that Councilor Mayu did about why are we having the recycling go in the trash? But I guess the point that I wanted to make, along with what Mr. Thomas said, that the communication, and Mr. Turner, you do a fabulous job every day. I remember I was at the council meeting when they were talking about purchasing a truck, and there were two other options on the table, along with Nick Champagne, who is an engineer, that kept saying, you should not be buying this truck. We could have saved a great deal of money if we had leased, or there were two used trucks in Florida that were up for sale. And for some reason, that decision was not made even to look into it, and it cost the taxpayers more money. And now we have this issue going on, which I agree with you, Jay. Where do you draw the line in the sand? So moving forward, when purchases need to be made, let's, with the new council, really, really be aware that the taxpayers are hurting and spending money needlessly, which we seem to have a history of, really needs to be examined. Thank you.
Mark, do you have any comments to make about the other two options that Kathy's talking about? Was leasing a truck?
Back when we were researching the dual packer system, I did some research to try to find where there may be either used or lease purchase options out there, and there were none at the time that I saw anyway. And I looked at many sites online as well as periodicals and publications, waste processing periodicals, and I did not see any. Conventional packers are thousands and thousands of them out there. We could have got a really good buy on one of those, but the dual packer system is so unique that, and so new, really, that there aren't many out there that are used, I don't think, that are available.
And the point is to not have to send people around twice or send two crews with them, right? So they can do it all at once.
The idea was to do it efficiently and effectively with one crew and one vehicle.
Time and labor.
I spoke with the Northeast Regional Director of Waste Management, one of the largest waste collection companies on the East Coast. They only have one of these trucks in operation. That's in Cumberland, Maine. The truck we have, well, the packer we have, the Loadmaster, only 5 of those are in operation right now. 4 of them are in Chicago. They put 4 trucks out each day on 5 different days. And they were experiencing similar problems to what we were experiencing. I spoke to the fleet maintenance director, mostly through emails, fleet maintenance, public works director, and their public information officer. And they had similar hydraulic and power adjustment problems with all 4 units. They were adjusting them every single day, and the advantage they had was there was a Loadmaster dealer right in Chicago. So the trucks went to the dealership for service every single day. Our dealer is in Westbrook, so a little more inconvenient distance, but similar problems there too. So only 5 of these are in operation right now. And like I say, Waste Management has a McNeilis, which is a Cadillac of packer trucks, and they only have 1 in operation.
Well, Mark, it was in your analysis that a used conventional packer truck to do this type of service, whether it be 1, whether it be 2, in the long run would have increased labor, costs, and equipment versus taking the test with this dual chamber.
Is there any other discussion on this? I will call that discussion to a close. Moving on, now we are at community notes. Community notes is a time where if anybody has something they would like to speak about or announce that they haven't already spoken about that wasn't on the agenda this evening, now would be the time to do it. We ask that you come to the podium and tell us your name, where you live, and just take a brief moment to give us your thoughts. And I know Councillor White would like to go first tonight.
Yes. I just have a quick speech. I'm going to pull a Sidney Mayhew here.
Hear, hear.
That's a joke. Anyway, in all seriousness, okay? And bear with me, please. I've been on the Waterville City Council since January of 2015, and in my time as a Waterville City Councilor, I've experienced my fair share of budget issues, debates, angry voicemails, angry emails, and despite how many people I've had the opportunity to sit next to, I've been viewed as somebody's puppet. I have worked through a budget recall, attempted recalls of city councilors, an attempted recall of the mayor, the sale of a city property for a dorm, and the revitalization of Hedda Falls. My time as a city councilor has not been easy, but despite how thankless my position on the Waterville City Council is, and despite the recent negativity towards the council, I am very proud of my service for the city of Waterville. I am very honored of the people I've had the opportunity to meet and serve with on this council and in the community. I am proud of my service as a Waterville City Council representing Ward 2. The one thing I wish to achieve was to be respectful to everyone despite their views, and I pride myself on being able to listen to other people's views and have a respectful debate with them without being negative. Waterville is growing and revitalizing, and I have been extremely proud to be a part of that the last 4 years. However, with that said, it is with great regret that I am resigning my position as Ward 2 City Councilor with the City of Waterville effective December 31st, 2018. The reason I am resigning the Waterville City Council is simply because I now own a home and property in Fairfield in which I will be paying taxes to the town of Fairfield, and I'll become a Fairfield resident. And that is the only reason why I'm resigning my seat on the City Council. It is not ethical for me to live in Fairfield and serve on the Waterville City Council. I enjoy working in politics, and I love the City of Waterville. However, again, it's not ethical for me to perform my duties in Waterville, what I'll be resigning in Fairfield by the first of the year. Although my political career in Waterville will be over, I do not plan on getting out of politics. I will be looking into the possibility of running for Fairfield Town Council if the opportunity arises. And with my experience on this council, I feel as I will be a great candidate for the town of Fairfield and could bring a new energy into the town. Lastly, I want to wish the newly elected city councilors the best of luck. And to the candidates that lost in the recent election, don't give up, try again. In politics and in life, you win some, you'll lose some, but get back up and try again. I also want to give advice to the newly elected councilors, and newly elected officials across the state and the country, because sometimes when you get in office, you lose sight of the important aspects of political service. My advice is, whether Democrat or Republican, listen to your constituents, listen to your fellow elected officials, and despite your differences of opinion, be respectful. It is okay to disagree with people. It is okay to have differences in views and opinions, and it is healthy to debate. That's what makes this country great. You have the ability to speak freely and express your opinion, but do so in a respectful manner. Be kind to each other. And when you leave your chambers after a meeting, don't hold a grudge. Don't defame somebody's character because you're unhappy with the way they voted. We are all people. We all have feelings, and it's okay to have differences with each other and still get along. So, thank you.
Thank you.
That's really, it's really hard because I didn't want to get done, but, I own a home in Fairfield. So,
How close is it to the town line?
Thank you, Nathaniel, and I've been with you for 4 years,
I know.
and we've been through a lot, but we were always able to go have some beers afterwards. So I've
Absolutely.
appreciated that over the last 4 years. Is there anybody else who has a community note?
Hi, Lisa Evans, Ward 6. I just wanted to give a shout out to Saturday's crafts fair at the Waterville High School. I am on the committee, Project 2019, or 2019 Project Grad Committee. I have a senior. We have to raise we are choosing to raise thousands of dollars to provide a safe and fun graduation night when the students graduate. We are selling Christmas trees, $35 a Christmas tree, I believe. Mr. Roy has one from our group. And we are selling them at the high school in the parking lot from 9 until noon. We will deliver, if you ask us, we will deliver them for you. And our tree is up in our living room. It's full, it's beautiful. And I think that the sizes range from 5 feet to 7 feet. Also, the crafts fair is going on, and another shout out, we've got every table in the rotunda is going to be manned by girls basketball, boys basketball, hockey, another Project Grad, the green team, blah, 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 all selling something, raffle tickets or athletic equipment, jerseys and things to help their particular group fundraise. And hopefully with revenue sharing, it won't be as dire in the years to come. So thank you. That's this Saturday. The crafts fair is from 9 until 2:30. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else for community note? Yeah.
Just at the high school.
No rush.
No, next Tuesday night, I'm wondering if Mr. Payne if Julian is at the concert tonight.
He is.
At the high school. The junior high kids are performing. And next Tuesday, it's a free concert at 7 o'clock, and it's the senior high school kids, band, strings, and chorus. And let me tell you, there's no charge. It is just it's a holiday concert. It is such a feel-good, and I always bawl my eyes out towards the end. But it's just such a lovely event, family event, and at 7 o'clock next Tuesday night.
Thank you. Community notes. Michael. Nathaniel, want to close this out?
Motion to adjourn?
Granted.